they've definitely taken something in this off-time that they had. But we're going to start with Fine. Oh, what is looking interesting here? Okay, so Revenant, still the same. And SK Rossi is still on that Gecko. I actually might accept it.
Against an opponent that's not easy at all. So Priest Gaming, they're pretty strong.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're hard done by going up against a KR representative in the first round of an Ascension matchup. It's obviously kind of the mecca of Asia Valorant right now with the Pacific League over there. So I'm sure SPG's been sharpening their teeth on a lot of that kind of competition in practice, as well as over in the, Challengers KR scene. And then over on the South Asian side of things, they're a little bit more geographically segmented. And this is going to be a good chance for them to prove that they can make it up the top of Asia again.
Yeah, but like, on this map, leaving their opponents with like a single digit.
Yeah, I think, the kind of competition that SPG goes up against Nongshim, as you mentioned, even in D+, is great practice, especially on a map like Bind. And like you mentioned, one of their most repped out maps, a lot of reps in Challenger's career against some quality opposition. They have not really shied away too much from changing up their comps. You were talking about some of the small agent adjustments, but they're going to still stay true to playing, this Sentinel heavy kind of composition. They love playing double Sentinel. They love playing, Deadlock, Cypher, things like that, together on the same map. And stylistically, it's something that we've seen come into a lot of different pools. You've seen the popularization of that over on Ascent, playing the Deadlock Cypher. I think, you saw M80 and some of the American teams really popularizing that in their Challengers scene. And even I was watching Apex run it in EMEA Ascension to some great success. So it's going to be interesting to see the Asian flavor of that over here for SPG, and they're even really trying to bring in the Neon to this comp as well, which has been kind of touted as an important agent for you to be able to mix into your compositions in this tournament, in this meta.
Yeah, especially in this meta, and who better to play it other than Danby, of course. I mean, we've been talking about him, the desk was talking about him, and he's one of those players who has incredible movement on the agent, but we are already kicking things off. It is Revenant on the attacking side, though, so for now, just slowly approaching into sight.
Yeah, you can see working their way through bathrooms, setting up this A-split straight away here, Quack. Let's see if it works out.
Margaret, that dedicated Cypher player, is just already marking the angle. He's got some setups, but nothing really doing just yet. Danby going to go in for a bit of a jiggle peek. I think he does spot something, but he's actually going on the offensive, trying to swing out against him. Gets the first pick off, but then here comes the utility. A couple of his teammates have fallen as well. So this is the site open. A credible shot from Sultan. Now down to Ivy. How can he do it?
I don't know. It's going to be difficult to complete this 2-on-4. You can see Paradox already cleaning out the back of the site. Francis in an untenable 1-on-4 here. Didn't really have too much impact in this round so far, and he's going to get double peaked as well. 3K for Paradox, and really clean round from Revenant. I love the way that they went for that bathrooms control, and they just anticipated the reaction out of SPG and punished them as soon as they went aggressive.
That's right, Phil Scam. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we're seeing from Revenant now. You know, coming in from last year, the Prince of Indian Valorant, South Asian Valorant, SK Rossi. He used to be on that jet so many times, you know, often being quite aggressive. But one of the things that Revenant has come in with, especially for Split 2, is they have their new coach, Fields, and he has kind of tempered that aggression, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's something that they've said they're working on. A quad peak straight out of Hookah. Skills definitely not ready for that, and that's going to be a gun hitting the floor already. In the meanwhile, you can see the speed up here for Revenant already just kicking it into high gear in this A site, and Margaret just trying to hold on to some control of Visual.
There's a little spy cam as well, and he definitely gets the information. The incredible stun coming in from his teammates as well. So that's going to be one pickup. However, Revenant does not let up. They still have the guns. They don't want to let this go away too quickly. It's going to be the Outlaw, though, so Rossi's going to have to be very careful with his shots. There it goes, a double kill already. Even with the Prowler, he pushes out on the Frenzy, and that's going to be Frenzy's trying to refrag. DOS9 marks the angle, and that is Revenant cleaning things up.
Good recovery, but unfortunately not as clean as they would have liked to. Definitely made a little bit of a mess in the early to mid round there. Already seeing Rossi straight on the Outlaw multiple times here, and that's something that we've kind of mentioned. He was playing that info initiator role in Split 1. He's moved it over towards a Jet and playing a lot of Gecko, but sort of something-esque in terms of bringing that scoped weaponry to the table in that role. And already in the bonus here, he's got a Thrash online, and they're looking to go towards this B side pretty quickly. SPG already with 3 players over here.
And that's just something that we have to keep our eyes on. Info initiator, but still kind of trying to snipe out your opponents. Gonna have to play up close with his teammates. Can't afford to play too far back, especially when you want to deploy that Thrash. They will be able to tag Francis down at 10 HP. Well, they could just kind of hold their ground.
Yeah. You can see how tentative they are. That's the side effect of playing against the double Senti. Playing against the Deadlock Cypher. You cannot just kick off those executes off the bat dry sometimes, because you could definitely get caught by those trips, by some of the Deadlock traps as well. Revenant doing their due diligence here. Pressure on the B side of the map, and now working back towards A short, making sure that the other team doesn't have too much unfair info and that they're able to kind of keep the rotations honest. Over on the other side of the map, you can see SPG trying to clear out the lurk with the Fade Prowlers as well.
It's a bit of a roadblock for Revenant, to say the least, but they have definitely made the rotations over. Margaret, though, is doing so much work, just kind of taking down anyone who tries to approach. So it's going to be the rotation from Revenant into the B site. They've managed to crack things open. The spike goes down. We're already on the turn. Out towards Elbow, though. Salton marks him down, and that's going to be a snakebite, just trying to block things off as well. Danby trying to set up for it, but here comes a suppressive fire. A shot through the smoke. Ivy goes down. It's cracked. It's all down to Margaret, and I don't see how this round is going to go any other way. Salton, the rookie, with ace in round 3.
Picked up on 1 day's notice into Split 2, by the way, just with a vouch from, you know, his fellow countryman in DOS9, comes into the first bonus that he's going to play here in Ascension. One of the biggest impact rounds that you can win in a matchup like this, and he's going to ace against SPG, one of the strongest teams in the competition. Like, that is unreal for a player with that level of experience to come up with a round like that, Crack.
I just imagine the whole conversation going, you know, with the Revenant manager, and Dawson's like, all right, who do you think we should pick up? Dude, I got this guy. He's really good.
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro.
literally what I was thinking. Oh my God.
Awesome.
It's so insane, though, and, like, it's great to see these talents coming out of Kazakhstan. It's a region that, you know, it has a bit of a history in tactical FPS, a bit underrated, some might say, sometimes kind of pushed together with the CIS region, sometimes grouped into these Asian tournaments back in, you know, like 1.6 and things like that. So it's hard to really place them where they belong regionally. But if I'm seeing more and more rounds like that, if I'm seeing them be these, like, incredibly impactful mercenaries coming out here for a South Asian team and delivering that kind of entertainment, then I'm happy to welcome them with open arms.
I completely agree. And that's the biggest thing for Revenant Esports, is the fact that they have kind of gone with this sort of aim-heavy style, and they always work alongside, you know, the players, Sultan, DOS9 especially, and also SK Rossi, and it just kind of works out because they're all just creating so much pressure against the opponents. And when you have so many angles to watch out for and so many players who are peeking against you, sometimes it can be too overwhelming. And that's why I'm wondering how this is going to fare off against a team like Simprisa Gaming, who oftentimes you would think that they are very structured. They're always trying to set up. You have Ivy sometimes on the attack. He's going to be lining up his grav net and things like that. If Revenant keeps up this pace of pressuring them, then we might see a very different result on this opening map, Pilski.
They're off to a great start, aren't they? Bonus one. Now into the anti-eco. Outlaw at the ready already for Rossi, who still has the Thrash in the back pocket. Hasn't felt like he's needed to use it just yet. Fade Prowler in towards middle. You can see SPG, a couple of little traps, keeping the A side of the map quite comfortable with those trips, with the Cypher Cam, and then they've got the Deadlock trap for Hookah, just a little bit of info. The Fade's kind of leaning between both sides, wondering where to rotate and just sitting around in spawn.
And off of that, too, I think it was the timeout, perhaps from Simprisa from before or something. But
I think it was a tech. I don't think I saw the full-on timeout, yeah.
Regardless of what it was, you can see that in the early part of the round. But here comes the execute. It's going to be Boombot just to try to clear things out. Spy smokes all over the place. Dandy hiding in the corner, left unchecked with the buck. He tries to swing underneath, but it's going to be DOS9 who manages to flick on towards him. Even knocks out the haunt. Margaret trying to find ways to create a little bit more space for his team on the site, but the blast just kind of knocks him out a little. Tries to spray it down. Ivy going to be good for the refrag, but there's still so much more work to be done. DOS9 still undeterred, continuing to swing out a quad kill in the round. Revenant is not slowing down.
That was just cookie cutter from Revenant, spreading the map, holding for aggression, making sure that the defense didn't have too much unfair info or try to cut any corners, take any risks on the half buy, and then just a really clean A execute. That is the strength of playing this kind of comp that you do see time and time again on bind, the double controller, chuck the Viper Ball up, just start spamming that initiator util and just bombard the site to minimize risk against the half buy. I feel like Danby got a little bit rocked by the Bucky there. Probably could have had more impact, but he's going to be needed to. That is crazy. Instant on the smoke, and this is going to be a set play with the Thrash here from Revenant right off the bat.
Definitely has retrieved some information, to say the least. Here comes the Prowler as well, Pilski.
This is super interesting, the way that they're using the Thrash to clear out B-Long. They've lost a pick doing it, though. Rossi's gone down already, and the Spike's been dropped. That's great info from SPG, and they're already leaning the Cypher over to B now.
Painful loss. That was the Operator and the Thrash just immediately eliminated from the equation. Persia just doing what he's known to do, just kind of blocking things off and trying to spray things down as soon as he gets that information. So now Revenant are going to have to think about how they might want to switch up their game plan, perhaps.
It's going to be hard to get into this site, though. Orbital strikes at the ready. You've got one reactive smoke here for Persia, and 3 players just stuck right here, ready to deny this execute.
They're all prepared for it, just waiting for the push to come through. Revenant trying to find that space, trying to find that opening pick. It's not quite happening. Paradox, though, trying to start things off. Showstopper at hand. He does blow things up alongside his teammate. DOS9, the triple kill in the round. Danby has to do it all on his own. 1-on-2, not impossible. He has so much utility, and all he's got to do is just take down the first opponent. A couple of shots fire through, and now he's going in for it, trying to go in with the slide, the movement. However, Paradox, a 90-degree turn in an instant, takes him down. It's 5-0 for Revenant.
What a recovery from them as well. They started up that round, losing the pick to Persia, investing that Thrash early on. You could see what they wanted to go for. Disruptive smoke into Hookah in combination with the Prowler to clear that space and put pressure on the defense. They clear out B-Long with Thrash and set themselves up for an execute. They kept their options open, though. They had Sultan lurking over towards short A, and that is the ultimate strength of bind. You keep your options open, you get those aggressive lurks on the attacking side, and you can always just hit the TP if things go wrong.
I think that's also just the game plan that Revenant kind of has in mind. Always with, Paradox as well as Skills, who is IGLing. This is something that we're not really expecting, not really thinking so much about. The fact that the whole team is able to frag out right now. And Priest are definitely trying to switch up their positioning for the time being, given the fact that it's Sheriffs this time.
They've already seen this anti-eco approach so far, and this is the same look for Revenant. Very slow default across the map, and then group up at 50 seconds. This is the most kind of standard way that you're going to see anti-eco occur. SPG needs to be aware of this, and you can see they're looking for info with the Prowlers yet again. They've cleared out the middle of the map, starting to rotate back. Need to make sure they don't get caught in transition. But Revenant are grouping up for this B side here. SPG, despite gathering info, have not stacked the right side here.
And I think they're kind of pinned down as well, especially Francis. They might have the ultimates, but perhaps not quite the round to use it unless they find some kind of a miracle pick with that Sheriff. Revenant, they have their space. They're going to be walking on through. Teleporters have them ready for some pre-setups, so rotations are just as fast. However, SK Rossi, a collateral into Artuka. You might want to think twice about peeking that, Margaret. That's going to be a third kill. And here comes Persia, trying to hold an angle, but that's the best that he can do. Sultan coming in with the refrag. Ivy trying to refrag on his own. But of course, Sultan just shutting it lights out for Simprisa Gaming. It's 6-0, and I am getting nervous, Pilski.
Especially, I mean, this is SPG's map pick. They're playing double Senti, and they cannot get around on defense to save their lives. It's not going well for them. Ops come out. All the ults are online. No excuses here in towards this gun round. On the side of Revenant, though, an Orbital and a Pit could definitely be great tools to continue to claim more and more gun rounds. I love their approaches on the anti-ecos, this time with the B side ending on the execute instead of A, so keeping their options open. They're showing they've got that depth. On the attacking side of Bind to clean the rest of these rounds. Here's the Optal head-to-head, but Danby, no one there to clear the eye from him. That denies him an opportunity to find a pick in the early round.
Position revealed. Prowlers coming in to check. They know that they're right around the corner as well, so Revenant seemingly respecting this for now.
Yeah, Margaret trying to be Danby's buddy here, clear the util so he can find impact with that operator, but hasn't done it well enough. Francis spotting the lurk outside Hookah, but not aware if it's just the Viper or whether it's multiple players behind that. And Revenant, after clearing that Prowler, they're going to start regrouping back towards that A site. You can see this deep cam, though, that Margaret's got on short A is great info for SPG to keep free towards B here.
And that could be the tell as well. Prowler alongside that spy cam just lets Simprisa know that there could be that approach into B side. Hence, we're seeing some of the rotations go over. Danby and Margaret, though, of course, with the heavy investments, still kind of staying around the A side in case there's any sneaky business from Revenant. But here comes a bit of a peek. It's going to be SK Rossi firing off to the back. Last night as well. I mean, the duo doing their thing. Everyone's irresponsible to buy time for the rotations to come through. What they don't know is that something is right around the corner. And here comes the Pit. The ultimates have been spent. And of course, with the heavy investment on that operator, SPG are going to save.
I mean, I hate to say it, but SPG are getting dominated. They're getting outplayed. They're getting outfragged. Like, Revenant is outclassing them right now in the server, despite what the predictions will say. Despite what you might say about, you know, Korea or South Asia being a stronger region, what I'm seeing in the server right now is absolute class from Revenant. The Sentinel util is having absolutely no impact. A round where they had full ults and the potential to run any setup they want ends in a double peek into B long, into multiple players just holding, just kind of dry contact, seeking information. They're not rotating appropriately off the Fade util. And SK Rossi is just shooting everyone with the operator, which is exactly what he's known for.
He took out his counterpart operator as well, so that's huge value for Revenant Esports right now. I mean, I can't tell right now if it's, you know, credit to skills as IGLing, or perhaps it's also a combination of fields with the coaching as well for Revenant, because this is not a result that we were expecting so far, but you can feel and see the pressure that Revenant are creating.
Oh, for sure. And definitely have to give credit to Fields, someone who's played a little bit in the European scene, coached some of these challenger teams that have been, you know, strong in their regions, whether he was at the helm or not during those times. I know he's done a bit of like assistant coaching, things like that. Definitely will help to bring us some structure to a South Asian team like this, and you can see the effects of that. Revenant this time working the bathrooms control. It's a force buy from SPG. Danby's got the Neon ult. That double peek into bathrooms again this time, and the crunch straight through the TP here, Quack.
Ooh,
Spike
and a
down
quick
A.
turnout for Margaret as well. Double kill in. It was a bit of a crunch, and with that, the spike has been dropped. It's all down to Sultan. He did get the ace in round 3. Is he going to be able to bring us a bit of a miraculous play again? Has to clear out the corner, slicing the pie, just making sure that everything has been marked. There is that barrier mesh from Ivy as well, though, so it's not going to be easy for him to break through without making a sound. Angles marked, shots fired, and he's still trying to dance back and forth. Dampy is just waiting for the right time to strike. Sultan's thinking about it, but he knows he has to maintain his distance.
Looking for more damage here. Gonna get hit by the relay bolt. Excellent stuff from Danby. Great movement. That's what you want to see from a Neon player as well. The circle jump while you're in full sprint is such a great info gathering tool. Such a great use of the movement. And SPG, the TP crunch works out beautifully for them. You've seen them play that B-long position in combination with the deadlock util that they invest over on that side of the map for exactly that reason. Any team that wants to go for this bathrooms control is just going to get crunched super hard with multiple players just pincering you from both sides.
At the very least, also kind of expending ultimates and some plays from Syncrisa Gaming's strat book. So Revenant now very aware of it, thinking twice about the bathrooms approach. They are playing with a lot more respect around the space.
Look at that. Paint shells dodged by Margaret beautifully. Picks up the trip. In goes the showstopper though, Quack.
That's exactly where Margaret is, that specialist cipher, but here comes Paradox. He does not care. Comes in with a showstopper, and he's creating a bit of a show for himself on the site. Teammates factor in from bats, and they are looking to get the spike down. It's going to be a bit of a slow approach, though, because Danby is definitely halting their approach. He's got the overdrive ready, and he's looking to beam them down. Here comes the fast lane. Sultan able to mark the angle from an elevated angle. And they've picked up the spike as well. Rotations are going through. And Danby has to think twice about how he wants to slide into this. Actually gets the headshot onto Sultan with the beam. And Paradox trying to gun him down is not going to make it happen. Syncrisa with the second round win.
SPG just slowly but surely working their way into this game, one round at a time. Able to use the TPs to great success a couple of times already. Plenty of money, though, for Revenant to recover from. Another op comes out for Rossi. He's got another thrash in the back pocket.
Okay.
I haven't really seen SPG get any value out of this annihilation yet. I'm still waiting for the deadlock util to make a big impact, but definitely the Neon ult was huge there.
And that's what Danby does. I mean, although we have seen SK Rossi's impact with an operator, Danby still has the versatility to come in with that movement, and hopefully he can start and create a movement for Syncrisa to come in with a bit of a comeback right now. We talked about deadlock utility, and I think Ivy has been doing quite a bit at blocking off lanes with that barrier mash as well. So Revenant always having to think twice about things right now, but here comes that pressure again with the Prowler. However, it's been blocked off by the relay bolt. Only one though, so that piece of utility has been spent.
Yeah, doors closed. Relay bolt in combination with the Sky Smoke. You are not getting into hookah. Revenant going to have to go back towards B long here.
Through the poison cloud, though, he pulls it down at the right time. Person's still able to flick on. And at the right timing, too, he's able to get a bit more space towards Baths. The rest of Revenant walking into a bit of a known angle. So Ivy able to hold it down. Teammate coming into support. And that's going to be the last player, Sultan. Spike is way too far in no man's land. And out of hookah, that's a really tough position to fight.
He's already had a bunch of multi-frags so far this game, but 30 seconds on the clock. Might be a little bit of a bridge too far. Aware of the potential of a market flank. Getting slowly surrounded as Francis closes the net through hookah. Danby on the off angle towards B-long as well. Should be a pretty difficult prospect for him, and he hasn't even got his gun out. Danby going to panic TP a little bit, but Persia able to clean things up. 4 guns up here for SPG. Orbital gets online after that kill as well. And they're making a great resurgence into this game of blind here.
Yeah, it really is happening. I mean, here's the thing, right? No timeout called. All that happens was, you know, that little crunch play towards Bats, and all of a sudden we're seeing Syncrisa Gaming kind of coming back into their game.
Yeah, I think the key is definitely just they're rotating a lot better. They're trusting the info they're getting. I feel like before they had these deep cams, they had the Prowler info that they're getting, and they're just not trusting their info. You know, they're misreading the situation. They're Prowlering, it gets cleared by a Viper lurk, and they're trusting that means there's players towards B because they didn't quite gather the right info or they didn't quite adapt in the right way to how Revenant is playing it. At the end of the day, that can be multiple things. That can just be jitters and nerves. You're not thinking clearly in a different environment. That can be this inter-regional play factor. You're playing against a completely different team compared to coming from Challenger's career or whatever scene you're coming from. You've scrimmed this team 50 times. You know, oh, I Prowler this guy. I know how this particular player plays. That's definitely the lurk, and that means it's going to be this site. You know, and you get into those routines and habits. But you play against a completely different team from a region. The same info can mean a completely different thing, and you need to be adaptable. And I think that's what we're seeing from SPG. They're starting to rotate accordingly. They're starting to have some better reads and be able to stack the right sides and react to what their evidence been throwing at them accordingly.
Without a doubt. I love that you say that, Pilsky, and I think that that's one of the biggest things that we have in Ascension as well. I mean, a lot of these teams, they're coming in from the Tier 2 scene up around Challengers. They might not, or most likely have not faced off against, you know, other opponents from other countries like Revenant, for example, as well. Yeah. And that means having to adapt and adjust on the fly. That's what Ewok was talking about. I can't call him a coach Ewok anymore because now he's an analyst for us. And that's the main thing, is that when it comes to an event like Ascension, a tournament like Ascension, you're being tested. You might be the king of your hill, but here you have to climb up this mountain. You've got to ascend to greatness, and you have to find ways to adjust when you are pressured by teams like Revenant. And Synprisa Gaming are doing a pretty good job so far.
Look at them straight into the market crunch. It's a set play off the bat, completely catches Revenant off guard. And that's one of those pace changes that after a timeout can completely catch you. Revenant now, they had a plan. They talked about it through their whole timeout that they took. You know, Fields was saying, oh, we're going to go for this particular execute. That's all gone to the wayside, completely disrupted off the bat by an SPG who just wanted to get in there straight away. They've mixed the Cypher over towards the B side of the map and reinforced it with Deadlock Util. You've never seen so much center Util on one site before, Quack. That is looking pretty impenetrable. And over on the other side, 3 players in a hard crossfire here.
Yeah, that's just titillating plays. I mean, Synprisa, what a way to play off of the timeout. And you can see that Revenant slow things down. Oh, perfect. Capturing off the double. He manages to take it off, and it's going to be Virgin now trying to find and isolate some of these duels. Look at how he plays around the angle. Move is so clean. Paradox, along with the Phantom, able to spray him down. 34 HP, though. And he is gambling a little bit with this angle. Margaret able to swing out, takes him down with a clean headshot. Synprisa on to perhaps close out this first half with a 5-7.
Yeah, unfortunate. Great read from SPG, though, and that's why these tactical timeouts, it's not something that's talked about enough. They are a double-edged sword. You are taking a timeout to do an adjustment, but you're giving the other team's coach input. You're giving the other team's coach a chance to kind of try to stay one step ahead, and there are certain tendencies that certain teams will fall into. When they take a timeout, they like to stack, or they take a timeout, they like to go towards a set plan. So whether SPGs recognize that tendency or not, they're doing a very similar thing. It's a 4-stack on B with the Cypher retake A.
Oh, good cut. He's here to back him up. All of a sudden, Revenant's game plan again completely foiled.
100% massive stack from SPG, leaving the Cypher with the kill trips retake on A, and Revenant, whatever they were thinking about, whatever they wanted to go for with the Thrash in this round, no longer going to be an option. Deadlock will deploy towards the bottom side of B long with only 2 players alive. It's going to take a fair while to work through.
I have the spike.
Down that barrier mesh as well. If there's any silver lining with this, is the fact that Sultan is 1 point away from his Viper Spit. Skills has his Nightfall. They could perhaps use this to capture a site and then lock things off and ensure that the rotations don't come that easily for Synprisa. However, they've got to make it through this initial angle. Now, although it was a little bit frustrating at first, he managed to take on Sultan. It's all down to skills. Nightfall deployed, and Danby kind of dodged it. That's going to be the round. Danby holding the off angle. Simprisa coming in with the adjustments. It's 5 straight rounds in a row for them to close out this first half.
It's a hot start from the core that you're expecting of Revenant to have a lot of impact. It's usually, Rossi, DOS9, Sultan. They're going to put a lot of impact on the board. Paradox is having a great game as well. Someone that is very flexible role-wise for this team and allows them to kind of flex into different things, can play that secondary duelist, and there's a couple of players in this tournament we can highlight that do that. As for skills, though, he's having a rougher game, and I think it comes down to just the fact that this is someone that's had to do a massive role change. He's had to IGL and play Info Initiator for basically the first time in his career, when previously he's played a ton of games of Sentinel, a ton of games of Controller, but very, very few games across his whole career on these info units, like the Sova, in this case, the Fade, and I don't know if he has that role comfortability.
It's always a little bit difficult, especially, when you're playing against new opponents that you haven't quite faced before. I mean, back in, South Asian challenger scene, they might have been able to do this against teams like True Rippers, maybe even Velocity. But against Simprisa, these guys have the incredible coordination with the teamwork and with the way that they're pushing out on defense. It's something that perhaps Revenant hasn't quite anticipated yet. So we end this first half with a slightly even score, 5-7. It's not too bad yet. But Revenant definitely does have to anticipate some of these movements from Simprisa moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Simprisa, the momentum's well and truly there. They had definitely a shaky start to this game. You had some big individual plays as well, really stringing that momentum along for Revenant. An ace for Sultan in the bonus really gets them off to that 7-0 hot start. But once Simprisa started stringing these gun rounds together, even some of these weird kind of shaky buys where they're having to mix in a judge and things like that and do some kind of more stacky plays really started to work out for them, and they really started to adapt to Revenant's pacing. I was kind of talking about it in the half buys, but even some of those other rounds, the pacing was quite similar. It's like slow pacing, early to mid round, feeling out the map, working the map with that init util, and then going for that set execute, or going for these set executes backside a short 8 off the bat. I think Simprisa did a great job anticipating which side they were hitting, as well as kind of disrupting things quite heavily. And in general, that was the game plan they went for on defense all half long, was just get in the face of Revenant and disrupt them while they're trying to go for their game plan.
And that happens, especially when they start to trust in the information that they're gathering. I think that's one of the main things that we talked about, is the fact that we've got these new agents coming in. Previously, they might have played with the Sky. This time it's going to be the Fade. So the Prowler versus the Guiding Light. The range on that is a little bit different. There might be a little bit of an adjustment around that, but they're still able to kind of make it work now. And off of that, back onto this, it's going to be Simprisa on the attack now. And I've seen them do a lot of crazy executes, especially with the deadlock. I don't know if Revenant's prepared for it.
It's a bit more of a defaulty kind of approach. Cypher's feeling out the bathrooms here, may even try to deploy the cam and see if there's a bathroom set up for Revenant. In the meanwhile, Fade Eye going in towards Suka, clears by the player backside. The timing is a bit off there. Ivy not ready to get double peaked and goes down early.
On the other side, surprise, Danby with the relay bolt. Paradox able to take down at least one with the paint shells. However, the site has been claimed. Looky here, though, it's going to be DOS9 with a frenzy right inside the Sky Smoke.
You can see Rossi on the flank here. Trip was not up anymore, but Danby's more than ready for it, Quack.
Incredible stuff. I mean, this guy is all over the site just because he's got that high kick, just because he's sprinting. And then another Sky Smoke now, just to block off further angles. You're going to have to think twice if you want to push through Truck. Sultan is trying to work alongside his teammate, and they're using the Sky Smoke up there just to get out utility.
Last player standing.
Who is able to fight them down with that ghost and his win.
Just continuing that momentum from the 5-round streak in the first half, continuing to dish out the pain to Revenant, continuing to use the TPs beautifully, even on the attacking side. That time reacting to the bathroom's pressure, and that is, you know, that great communication that you can have from a team that's all the same nationality, speaking the same language. Korean teams very structured with great communication traditionally as well. So, you know, you compare that to maybe a team like Revenant where they're mixing some nationalities, things can get a little bit more cluttered, and you might not have that same kind of snappy approach that you can have in terms of just adapting to things instantly and calling the change-ups on the fly.
And that's kind of what the Korean teams are known to do as well. They're just so quick and able to come up with these coordinated plays, right, Pilsky? Revenant, on the other hand, I mean, they're going to have to find some kind of a way to adjust around this, because if not, they're going to be repeatedly surprised by a lot of these set executes.
Yeah, well, they're just on the eco here. They're taking a bit of an old school timeout, to be honest, having a chat with the pistols, not really going for too much, just a bit of an A stack, which, to be fair, SPG will go into here, Crack.
Kind of avoiding it for now, though. Maybe coming in from the back lines. Danby thinking about maybe sliding through as Unity sees that problem. Trying to spray down alongside the line of sight too, but nothing quite happening for the time being. With the right clicks, able to make it happen, but greedy for the Bulldog. It's going to be Francis who takes a chunk out of him instead. Here comes a couple more shots, though. He's looking for the wall back. Sultan hopping into his face. The Haunt with a peaks. It's going to be the Bulldog now picked up. And, of course, Simprisa being pushed back to kind of watch the spike instead. Here comes that Defco utility, though. SK Rossi able to pull down the pressure with the defuse onto the spike. Although he only has a classic, he's trying to watch the angle. But here comes Persia, able to shut him down. It's 4 guns robbed away from Simprisa, but they get the win tied up nonetheless.
And Persia just playing the late round beautifully. I mean, mentioned on the desk, one of the highest rated players in Challengers Korea. But actually something that I wanted to highlight, he wins a quarter of his clutches from a massive sample size of like over 100 rounds, which is insane consistency. Like, we're talking across the whole season. You put this man in a clutch, he'll win it. And he's just managed to avoid a pretty massive landmine for SPG there, getting ecoed by the Classics. So, although it's going to take a pretty big toll on their economy and they're back down onto a bit of a bonus here, definitely better than losing the round outright.
Yeah, another amazing thing about Simprisa, right? You got players like Persia consistently putting up big numbers, even with the clutches against opponents Nongshim Red Force in their grand finals match. I mean, this is why Revenant is kind of pressured a little bit as well. I mean, Simprisa Gaming are not the underdogs. And SK Rossi has his work cut out for him, alongside his teammates as well. I mean, that first half was great, but now they've really got to find a way to retool this.
Yeah, I mean, it was 7 in a row for Revenant, followed by 7 from Simprisa. You need to break this streak on the gun round, and in comes the B execute for SPG here.
A little bit fast. Sultan able to hold things down. Of course, the remaining offenses push through as well. Francis does not care about that snake bite and goes in to collect the third. Paradox, though, inside of that sky smoke. Just trying to spray through, create a lot of noise, trying to create that angle in from elbow. But of course, at the same time, Ivy with the deadlock utility, it's just so oppressing and makes it tough for you to push out of choke points. Paradox from the back, just trying to find any angle possible, but marked by Margaret immediately. Skills tries to alleviate some of that pressure. Simprisa, though, not letting anything up. It's just way too difficult for Revenant to find anything whatsoever. A bit of information and, of course, a subsequent peek. Paradox able to take out another, but here comes Francis, having snuck all the way through elbow in all that time.
This is nightmare stations for Revenant. Oh my god. They were 7 in a row to start this matchup off, and look at that timeline now for Simprisa, winning their bonus just like Revenant did in that first half, doing one better than Revenant has been able to do in this matchup and picking up a handful of guns after what was a shaky anti-eco. They've well and truly recovered their economy here.
It's just really, really difficult. I mean, especially with the bonus loss, now you're talking about momentum because Revenant are playing on the back foot. Sultan, though, having opened things up with that sheriff shot outside of hookah does provide a bit of hope. He has that Viper's pit available as well.
That's just one of those things, you know, you play against a Viper on B. It's like one of the most common roles on this map, but some of these players They love to be a bit more aggressive. They love to get in your face. And Sultan, he's already found a sheriff shot, continuing to push the issue against Persia, but going to be forced off the line and have to TP while SPG takes the B site with the fatal, I was going to say. But actually, they just wanted to clear hookah before they kick off this actual execute.
And then we'll let Dambi do the heavy lifting. Look at it, just sliding past the site. Persia coming in to execute. It's the double kill. It's the site. And now Simprisa are just locking things down. SK Rossi might be the prince, but he only has a marshal in his aid for this time. And it's going to be Simprisa just trying to provide that suppressive fire as well in case anybody's trying to cross through the sky smokes. So far, Revenant trying to approach from elbow, slowly creeping up. Persia might not know what's behind him. They're going things off with a catalyst that was Paradox, and it does work out for now. Alton with the shot, so the triple to end things off. Margaret had no idea what hit him.
He's just really continuing to try to drag Revenant by their bootstraps through this matchup with nothing but a Sheriff and Armor in that round. Finds the initial pick, forced off the line, forced to TP, still comes back into the round from the other side of the map and finds 2 more for Revenant to finally break that massive streak of rounds from Simprisa with a thrifty win there. And now you can see Sultan, he's got that pit ready to go. That could definitely disrupt things a little bit for Simprisa, who had to invest a fair bit in that round. Fadol invested in that, and that's going to take a pretty big toll on their economy here. They're going to be able to buy up, but this is where some reset potential starts to come in for Revenant here.
Absolutely right. And if Revenant does pick up the win, I'm going to say it's thanks to Sultan. I mean, again, Source, this is what it's all about. Ivy, though, is going to try to do something different in through that Viper's pit. Pink also will take him down, but at the same time, Orbital Strike just to clear out the corners of that pit. It's going to be Francis pushing alongside it. DOS9 now, though. He has been good so far. Now that his teammate has fallen, he goes in just around the corner, able to shoot down the person who was trying to fight that spike. And now trying to reroute around the back as well. Unless Sabrisa is able to mark this angle, unless Margaret's able to go in for a double, it's going to be way too difficult. Persia trying to run back around, but he's being chased by the Prowler, chased by Skills with his hail of bullets. And of course, Revenant comes back into the game.
That was such a beautiful pit clear by SPG. The Prowler into the pit, followed by the net orbital to kill the Viper, but it was an even better response from Paradox. The paint shells into Showstopper to break up that execute, give enough time for the rotations to come through, and you saw what happened from there. There's that orbital. Paint shells is already down, which gets a kill inside the pit, followed up by the Showstopper. Huge play, and this is what DOS9's able to do off that rotation timing. Takes way too long for SPG to get into a post plant there, and Revenant takes full advantage.
Incredible. Prisa now has to find a different approach as well. Marshall just in time, but look at how they're kicking up the pace. Dambi in with the overdrive. Revenant did not expect this whatsoever. And of course, in with the mural theft as well. Dambi is just waiting for them to peek out against him. Of course, Revenant's not quite going to give up all too easy. Even though they might have a little bit of economy with them, it's just a little bit too risky to feed into Simprisa's speed right now.
And that's why Dambi was highlighted. Persia now trying to take the last few guns, the last few things that Revenant has to cling to in this round, and the double TP is going to get it done. 50 win for SPG. Dambi with more crazy neon movement as well. Just so unhinged that he's in U-Haul 3 seconds into the round before you can even think.
You just gotta love this, Pilsky. I mean,
that's the ranked approach, bro. That's literally, I'm rushing U-Haul with a judge, but there was structure around it, of course, from SPG. And these fast, punchy rushes, though, that catch you off guard, it's something that you cannot allow to happen for SPG, because not only will they get those entries into the site, but once they set up in the site with Cypher Deadlock, it's going to be impossible to retake.
When Dambi gets going, he really gets going. And it just feels like two boxers, exchanging blows with each other. You think you can take the thrifty? I can take the thrifty as well. And here comes Sultan with a judge of his own, but he does get shut down by Francis. SK Rossi now with his famed operator trying to take some shots through against him. alongside that Dizzy, but does not expect Danby to come in that quick. Paradox able to refrag, and we're back in for an even fight, 2-on-2. Boombot, just to get a bit more information, the C's manages to snag onto Paradox as well. The Sky Smoke blocking off the angle for now. Saprissa, unbeknownst to Revenant, are sneaking through. The Paramesh does give a bit of an inkling, but DOS9 and Paradox able to take out frags off their own. It's a 10th win, reaching double digits for Revenant Esports.
Yeah, I think they've all kind of had their moments here so far, Quack, but I think it's Paradox in these last couple of rounds that's had some massive plays for Revenant. Massive response to the short A hit that you saw before with the Paint Shell Showstopper in this round. This 3K on the Raze rotation, absolutely instrumental. Throwing out the Paint Shells, I think from spawn side, and then coming in to get a 2K to get another Paint Shells. You know, it's often quite strong to have your Raze in that rotation role just to be able to flood into the site with the satchels and well-timed Paint Shells to break up the execs.
Does kind of throw a wrench into his brother's plans for now. Again with an operator reinvested. Saprissa trying to keep up that pace, trying to push Revenant back. There's that annihilation. It is the incendiary cooking Sultan as well, though. Might there have been a second player, would have been a twofer, but here it goes. Spike planted regardless. Okay, not quite yet. Revenant still trying to fire back, Pilsky. Look at the skills, not letting up. He's re-peeking again, SK Rossi, but that might have been too much for greed. It's going to be Francis who's able to shut him down. Paradox trying to refrag back in as well, but then comes in Danby with the judge. Saprissa, they just keep kicking it up to another higher gear.
They're just hitting Revenant with set play after set play. That one, I mean, it's something you've seen a few times, but the fade ult with the Brim Molly to stop people from flooding in or out of the site, and hit by the fade ult, I don't think Sultan can hear that at all. He dies for free. It's the ultimate, you know, Project A is about shooting meme, where you've literally just died to util and had no impact in the round as a B-side anchor. You can't even get out of the site to try and play safe for the retake, because you're just burning while getting hit by a fade ult. So rough scenes for Sultan. And look, SPG, they're just applying the press so much. You can see it when we're on the Rossi POV with the operator and Danby's flying through the air, circle jumping with a judge at him. Not something that you can hit. You got a fade prowler coming at you as well. These executes are just so oppressive, the way that they take map control and run at you in these multiple waves of like coordinated util and good spacing. So Revenant, it just doesn't seem to have that much of an answer for that right now, outside of maybe Paradox with some good multi-frags and positioning or well-placed Raze util. They need to be able to find a different answer.
It's tough. I mean, it's definitely tough for Revenant right now. South Asia's representative, led by skills, of course, but at the same time, you've got these two mercenaries from Kazakhstan, SK Rossi, the Prince of Indian Valorant. He's bringing off an operator, but I'm not too sure if it's something that's going to work out against, you know, the antics of Saprissa Gaming right now. You know, you've got Danby always sliding up against you. If you are able to somehow hit, like, an instant shot against him, right? It's just so darn difficult. So I don't know how Revenant's going to adjust around this. They've got this timeout for them right now, but they definitely need to make it happen. Revenant Esports wants to kick off Ascension 2024 the right way.
Yeah, it's a rough game so far for Skills, which is actually the same story on the Sky against True Rippers in the finals of South Asia. So Revenant can definitely find ways to win. You can see the impact that he's having in terms of assists, you know, on the fade as the IGL, can really direct the flow of traffic. On attack, you're clearing map control and you're, you know, calling around it. On defense, you're trying to inform the rotates and play that information game with the prowlers and things like that. So can definitely have impact in that regard. And this timeout here for Revenant, it's a rough one to be throwing down because, yeah, going into a half bite, the single rifle there for Rossi, you've got the showstopper for Paradox. So, look, it could be a cheeky round with a hero rifle, with a couple of shotguns, with the right tools. You could try to go for a bit of an upset here, but need to make sure at the same time that you're making sure you can keep enough money to buy into round 22 with the game this tight.
Yeah, at this point, you might be even thinking about overtime, that the possibility of that as well. So Revenant definitely having a lot in mind to consider. Meanwhile, Simprisa, I mean, it's just set execute after set execute, and that's something we've seen before as well. Okay.
With the showstopper straight against this AX deck, it's fully stacked here, Quack.
It's like you don't have off of the sky smoke, manages to take down Ivy, but Ivy took him down as well.
Yeah, you can see SPG's cleared that bathroom's control. They're very tentative here, except for Danby. He's just B-hopping in.
Oh my gosh. And B-hopping back out too. Back into the sky smokes. Francis pushing out front. Now SK Rossi trying to play off of his teammates, trying to refrag, sneaking into showers now. Simprisa might not anticipate this. He's got 8 rounds in the magazine. Meanwhile, Sultan only has to judge, so trying to stay hidden. And Simprisa kind of susses out that something's not quite right.
Yeah, they're cutting sound, but heard on the rotation back by Rossi. Sultan a little out of position. They know that SPG's committing towards this B site. There's a Viper wall with the Viper alive for the retake. If Persia gets the spike down here, he will actually have access to the orbital, and they'll have a very strong afterplant with the cam up.
Oh, that's exactly what they're going to do. Immediately trying to back up. Okay, back into elbow, and we might go and ring around the Rosie. Of course, Sultan has picked up that rifle, but just like you're talking about, worst place to be at least expecting. A little strike, locked in, and that's SK Rossi burnt to a crisp. Margaret now off of those footsteps, and Sultan drops down. Simprisa takes the lead.
It was winnable for Revenant. It was a very, very good attempt, just not quite being able to put the pieces together. SPG, great patience in the mid-round, in that 2-on-2, just keeping their, their teamwork, their comms where it needed to be, playing things patiently, not trying to rush into U-Haul, not trying to push the issue on the A site with the rotations that come through or hitting the TP too quickly. Just working things out together and playing a very high percentage, strong afterplant. By coming back through for Revenant now. Once again, it's this fast start towards the A side of the map from SPG, trying to kick things into high gear through bathrooms and short A.
Yeah, it's her approach, both in from showers and short. Revenant having to respect Sky Smokes for now, alongside that Baron Hash. At the very least, let's give them the information that rotations have made their way through. That Margaret on their side blows things wide open on the B site.
It's got to be a TP.
Through the teleporter play. Revenant just to lock them down as well. Buy them a little bit more time, why not? Margaret's going to have to hold the ankle, cut off rotations. Or at least gather some information.
Plant's going to go down nice and open. Margaret's done perfectly on the lurk here to just allow SPG to go back towards B, and they're continually being zoned back by Util.
Oh, the timing on this. And those zoned back, Ivy's just waiting for them to catch up that Margaret. At least one. Persia in for 2. Even swapping out back off his Ivy gets the 3rd. Revenant has been shut down. And here it is, match point for Simprisa Gaming.
Very, very nice comeback from them, has to be said. After going down 0-7, they've gone 12-3. So, look, some initial jitters, some big plays from Revenant, which there have been a few more, but since that initial 7-0 streak, this has been a dominant game from SPG. They're on the verge of closing it out. If they can just win this round, it's a bit of a weaker buy here for Revenant. Down to a Bulldog, a Judge, and a couple of rifles, some light armor as well. And we'll see. Another nice multi-frag there from Persia to win the previous round.
Yeah, it just shows that they are that force to be reckoned with. I see why now. Will Toba made a 20-minute video on Simprisa Gaming, starting things off. Margaret, first point of contact. SK Rossi finding a frag of zone through onto the other side. Teleporter plays in as well, but Ivy's watching out that line. Trying to track his opponents. He's managing to take out that side and kind of refrag him through. Spills now with the hop as well. SK Rossi immediately taken down as he tries to clear out Garden. 1-on-3, and this is gonna be Simprisa Gaming takes down their own map pick of Bind 13-10.
Yeah, very well done. Great resilience from SPG there after a little bit of jitters, a little bit of nerves, some big plays from Revenant, which you're already starting to see that star power from some of the South Asian boys as well as the Kazakhs, both DOS9 and Sultan having some big moments in that. But SPG able to turn this game back around and win from an 0-7 deficit is already scary stuff for the rest of their competition in Ascension.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it wasn't just an 0-7 too, right, Pilsky? They got that bonus, and they kept on going off of that. It took the Thrifty, and then they were on Thrifty to just kind of reset things a little bit. I mean, both sides definitely very capable, but in their own ways. I mean, Simprisa always are good for these executes. So coordinated, and it's just the cohesion is there.
For sure. I think for Revenant, things were working for them very nicely early on. I think SPG already showed some great adaptability to be able to turn around that first half. They were really starting to recognize the pacing that Revenant was playing with on that attacking side, make some adjustments where it was necessary, and then just, work their way through the attacking side of their own. Some great lurks from Margaret, as you want to see when they play that double senti, but Danby definitely has to be the highlight, and you can see exactly why from the replay package here. Getting slid at from every angle. He's the tip of the spear here for SPG, just making so much space, which is exactly what you need with, single innet, single duelists on bind. You need someone just running into the site for you.
It's ridiculous how many times we saw him just run it down against his opponents. But not only that, I mean, he's got the timing off of the calls of his teammates to sometimes go in for a teleporter play. The relay bolt immediately connecting onto his opponents. The impact is there. Persia, of course, cleaning up with those kills as well. So Prisa Gaming are a force to be reckoned with. You just have to wonder about what they're going to do for Icebox, given that they left it open on intentionally.
Yeah, and Revenant, I mean, that's something that they've chosen to go towards. They played it a little bit. They've been a bit up and down in their region, so we'll see how it goes.
See how it goes, and tossing it back to our panels to break it down. It's going to be Ewok as well as Mika.
I'm glad you didn't forget me, Quack. it looked a little bit like he was gonna be like, oh my gosh, what's that girl's name again? Because Ewok's like the only thing that matters right now. No, I'm gassing up right now. Just like I think with Revenant Esports, they were running on that early gas, right? But we did see how that early adaptation eventually couldn't match up to how SPG was just able to rally together. I would say, though, that this match, Ewok, was a lot closer than I think a lot of people were expecting.
Yeah, I think we saw a great start from Revenant. I really like how they still kept playing a little bit slow, like how they used to play before on the bind, and I think it was working pretty well. They were finding where the stack was. I think on the SPG side, the rotations were a little bit off. I saw Persia a couple of times from the defender spawn. He's rotating to the wrong side just before Revenant was going to hit it. So I think that made it a little bit more difficult for their defense side in the first couple of the first 7 rounds, really. And then I loved the pace change. The moment when they went a little bit more aggro, it seemed like Danby kind of asserted himself on the game and took Revenant by surprise.
Yeah, we were talking about it, right? Danby, it seemed like at the very beginning, needed a little bit of time to warm up, but when he did, I believe it was like, the last round in the first half, where he suddenly was like, okay, this is, it took me a little bit, but now, I know what I have to do. He was just pretty much unstoppable, and that's exactly why we were highlighting him as a player as well, right? He really just gets into their faces, and it doesn't matter, actually, if he doesn't manage to get the kill. He does, by the way, but it's just to cause as much chaos because he knows that his teammates have his back too. And you mentioned it also, right, that Revenant, they did enjoy that early lead. A lot of it was because of a player like Sultan, and we were talking about him earlier on in the pre-show, how he's going to be such an important player alongside DOS9 and Ewok. I mean, that ace was just pretty amazing, right, at the very beginning.
Yeah, I think that round was such a crucial round for them to have that good start. I really like the macro way, how they kind of split around the map, and then they pivoted over towards the B side, and it kind of had the defense in shambles a little bit. We were missing a CT smoke. Maybe DOS9, I think, had a smoke, but didn't put it down. They lost one because of no smoke, but Sultan comes out being a hero and aces that round. I think it was such an important round for them to get off to that great start.
But SPG, we're looking here at Persia right now as the MVP. There was a lot riding on him, especially being the IGL, right? And I think that, you know, to be able to come back after Revenant basically took, I believe, 7 or 8 rounds in a row, right? How do you think, like, SPG were able to, like, you know, steel themselves and say, just relax, just play it round by round? That has to be a testament to how, you know, how solidified this team is as a whole, right?
Yeah, I think Persia, rightfully so, highlighted. It seems like every time it comes down to a clutch or he needs to trade, he's there. I feel like they can definitely rely on him. He was sharp. He was hitting those shots. And for Simprisa to be able to make that comeback, I think that was so important for them to have this rock because he was killing, he was assisting. I think just overall really important for them to get this map win.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's probably, can we say that it's probably going to go all the way as we head into Icebox? We're going to find out. We're going to head into a quick break, but when we return, it's going to be map number 2 of Revenant versus Simprisa Gaming. number 2 now between Revenant Esports and Sin Prisa Gaming, and we are heading into Icebox. This is a bit of a question mark. Ewok, we were talking about it earlier about how our eyes just immediately went there when we saw it on the map, Vito, with good reason as well, because we haven't seen Sin Prisa Gaming. I did not expect that to be a tongue twister, but we haven't seen them on Icebox, and it's been a while as well since we've seen Revenant on Icebox, even though they do run that Viper Harbor. Is that what we're expecting here? What can we possibly expect from Sin Prisa as well?
I think it's quite an interesting spot for Revenant to be, right? Because they haven't seen Sin Prisa play this map, so there's no anti for them to be done. Then it's a question mark, do we change our own comp for Revenant? And then for Sin Prisa's side, is okay, we had our month and a half, whatever it was, to prepare something and to be able to see that they can make a comp, build a comp that deals, if they do play the Viper Harbor still, that can deal with that comp. And that is something that I'm expecting from Sin Prisa. They're a team that usually a pretty well-oiled machine. We saw some really good executes on Bind now. I feel like sometimes Revenant knew where they were going, but the execute was flawless, and the util was so good that there wasn't much that Revenant could do about it. So I'm curious to see what is the route that they go for Icebox. Do they give us something spicy? Do we maybe see a Cypher, because we've seen so much Cypher? I'm very curious what they're going to do on Icebox.
I mean, I feel like Margaret isn't going to switch out just yet, especially like, you know, with this new map. So I think we will. That's pretty much a given. But calling back into Bind, right? You see that scoreline, 13-10. It was quite close, and Revenant had that early lead. Do you think that that's going to be the same case on this map, or do you think that was maybe just early jitters from Sin Prisa just needing to get their bearings?
Yeah, there might be a little bit of that. Maybe some just have to get the feel for the map a little bit, get a feel for the stage and everything, these stuff that we talked about before the map even started. But I do think also the game plan was good from Revenant. I think them playing a little bit slower, it suited their pace, right? As I said earlier. So I do think there's a little bit of both there. I'm really hoping to see that we don't see the Revenant boys being a little bit hard done by, being 7-0 up and then losing that map out. So I hope they can mentally reset. That's again, how I mentioned earlier, that's on the manager, the coaches, your players, more experienced players, to get everyone reset. Let's go another map. We don't know what's going to happen. Icebox is this unknown quantity. Let's go into it full confidence and try and get our hands back onto the series.
You are kind of having this telepathic connection with like all of the coaches. He's like, I'm watching you guys as well. I'm watching you, Fields. But no, that's a good point to bring up, especially since Revenant. I love that you brought up their pace, because it seemed like their pace was very clear. When they would ramp it up, they really go all in, and there's no stopping at all in the round. Then when they play it slow, it's suddenly very jarring, which for a new opponent, especially from a different region, that's probably why they had that early lead, because Sin Prisa was like, we are not used to this kind of pace. That could be their key, especially in Icebox, again, a map that we are not exactly sure what to expect from Sin Prisa Gaming. But I agree with you completely. I hope that Revenant does not slow down at all, because I love what we saw from them, all of those little openings that they were just able to grasp in that first map. It feels like, that kind of energy is what's going to make them, suddenly we're not sure. Is this really a one-sided series? Perhaps not, with what we saw from Vine.
Yeah, I think maybe especially for some of the players from Revenant, they were hitting some really nice shots in that, especially in those first 7. Yeah, there were some clutches that went their way as well. As our lovely casters mentioned, that some of these clutch situations, they were going either way. So I do think there's some confidence to be taken from that first map. I definitely don't think you should be a little bit sad or feel hard done by that first map. There's definitely a lot of things to take away. There was really nice shots hit by Sultan. Paradox was playing really well as well. So I think just take that a little bit as a warm-up, take it as some confidence, and take it into this next map.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, that head-to-head with Danby now being fully warmed up. We were talking about it a little earlier that maybe he needed just a little bit time to get the feel of everything. But now that we know that he is ready to just go all in, it's kind of frightening. I'm wondering now if SK Rossi does jump on the duelist this time. Could they run a double duelist with Paradox and SK Rossi? That could be something to again change up the pace and change up whatever Synprisa Gaming knows about Revenant. And it's those kind of mind games that, for example, people like you, Ewok, on the back end have to maneuver and work around, right?
Yeah, I definitely think we might see more of the operator. I think also, as the casters mentioned, SK Rossi was getting a lot of value with his operator when Synprisa was playing a little bit of that slower pace. But the moment when Danby was in his face, sliding at him, then of course he found it really difficult to hit those flick shots. It's not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of util coming in. So I'm curious to see if he sticks to his guns, keeps playing that operator. I would like him to have that confidence in himself and say, I am really good with this weapon. I'm going to stick to it. This is what my team needs. Icebox is a really good map for the operator. So they're going to be very reliant on him to hit those shots.
Yeah, really curious what we're going to see from Revenant 2, just because they do have that in their back pocket, right? But I do think we're going to still see the Harbor Viper. I said Hyper. Harbor Viper that they've been known to bring out, right? Especially since the partnership between Sultan and Dust9 just seems to be working so well. Paradox may switch onto that Harbor also, which we did see from them last time. But SK Rossi, is he going to go into that duelist? That's my big question for Revenant Esports. And Synprisa, is Margaret going to play something else? That's my big question actually for the entirety of Ascension. Jumping into Agent Select right now, our questions are going to be answered. Ooh, it looks as though Synprisa thought that Revenant was going to give them a mirror matchup here, Yuwa.
Okay, very interesting. They're going for the Yoru on Paradox.
Yeah.
That is extremely interesting. Yeah, they tried to copy their comp, see if they can beat them with their own comp, but Revenant played the Uno reverse card, and they're with their Yoru now.
Yeah, liking this Viper on Ursa too, because like just how efficiently we saw him, as the IGL, especially on a map like Icebox, that's going to provide so much value. I'm eager to see Ivy too. Ivy was a little bit quiet on that first map, but we know how important of a player he can be. So I'm excited to see him on the Sova, and dun, 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 Margaret plays something else finally. This is probably the most surprising thing out of this Agent Select. On paper, it doesn't look like much, but we have to remember that this player hasn't shown us anything else other than his Cypher on these matches.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to see him on the Killjoy a little bit. So I'm sure he'll be right at home. It plays pretty similar than the Cypher in certain aspects, and the role on Icebox for the Killjoy is a pretty standard role. There are some very important timings that you need to know about. There's some util that you can mess up if you are not too experienced on the Killjoy. There's some gaps that you can leave in the mid. So hopefully he has done his homework, and the coaches, I'm sure, have helped him to make sure that he can get his Killjoy ready to go for this Icebox.
Absolutely, and we actually don't know how long he's been hiding this, right? For all we know, this is probably the most goated comp of Synprisa Gaming, but we're gonna see if Revenant Esports can stand up to it. So we're gonna toss it over to our casters, Pilsky and Quack, to step into Icebox.
Yes, thank you, Ewok. And then also Mika. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, this is a very exciting one. It's an Icebox that we haven't quite seen before. Synprisa left it open on purpose. And lo and behold, Margaret is not on Cypher any longer. But at the same time, Paradox on this Yoru. I mean, this is something that you talked about before, Pilsky. The fact that he's kind of like that that glue guy, the second duelist for Revenant Esports sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been about 2 months since they played it in the upper final versus True Rippers, so it's going to be interesting that they changed up their comp. Paradox was previously playing the Harbor, now he's over to the Yoru, and like you mentioned, he's able to flex onto that secondary duelist for them in the case of playing like a Raze instead of Rossi playing the Jet, so they're going to use that here. Interesting, SPG, they banned this map in the regular stage of Challengers Korea. Now they're flipping that into Jakarta. There's a lot of lead-in time into this event for all of these teams coming from Challengers into Ascension, and you can really play up with your map pool, with your comps, and that's something that SPG's clearly done here. going to be interesting to see actually how the Yoru interacts with the Harbor. There's a lot of potential for flashing through those walls, so agents like KO, Yoru can really disrupt some of the chaotic situations that the Harbor creates.
Especially given the fact that they're starting on this defensive side as well. I mean, that's something that they really get to utilize to mess with their opponents, Simprisa Gaming, on the attack. Of course, though, we still have Simprisa. We're expecting them to go in with that pace that we saw in Bind. Icebox is a different map, however. And SK Rossi still on that Gecko. Will we see him pick up that Operator or even an Outlaw again? And at the same time, you know, Ewok was talking about it. There are some very precise timings that you need to hit as this Killjoy. Has Margaret kind of adjusted around that? I guess we'll wait to find out.
There's the Cascade and the Dart SPG taking full A main control. You've got the Lurk of Persia over in Garage. Revenant trying to make a play on middle in the meanwhile, but not finding anything, and SPG just contacting all the way into an open A site.
Just kind of walking through. Nothing found just yet, so that's a huge high tide going out front for now. Paradox already just right around the corner, waiting for that peek out. He does have the one blind side available. So thinking about how he's going to use it. Down it goes. Dizzy in as well. Jocelyn trying to find some shots, but SPG having able to dodge those flashes. They managed to take down these players. A couple pops up through from skills though, but it's not quite gonna connect. Spike will go down, and it's all up to Sultan. 1-on-4. How is he gonna do this?
Toxin screen down.
Clear everything. Drops the wall, yes.
Toxins going up.
No one's peeking out just yet, but here comes Persia all the way from mid, an angle that he wasn't quite expecting, so the flick, not quite there.
Beautiful stuff from SPG though. Revenant tried to catch them in middle. Not sure if that was a set play through the orb with the the Dizzy or the Yoru flash, but you could see SPG after contacting all the way into that A site. They were not rushing things. They were waiting for the reaction from Revenant. I mean, this comp from Revenant playing very similarly to what you see from the KO Gecko comps. And the scary thing about those comps is the retake potential. The ability to layer utility and flood into a site together is the same for this Yoru comp. And SPG played around that beautifully in the pistol.
With that, of course, the guns available to them as well. Now they're just going in with an onslaught. 2 kills already claimed. And Revenant are just trying to hang back. I mean, a little bit of a push out, but also the high-low setup on the other side, anticipating the flank.
Yeah, that Cascade and Dart combo to take A main, super strong with this Harbor comp. So Sultan and DOS9 just walking around the map with Sheriffs trying to find opportunities, but both of them punished by Margaret, who is for once playing not a Cypher. I think 20 games of Cypher in a row or something like that for Margaret, and finally flexing to something so different for himself. The Killjoy, what a change, crazy change of agent. Does go down to skills, but looking like a pretty clean anti-eco for SPG. Probably only going to lose the Sheriff here.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much going to be it. Nothing quite else happening. I mean, SPG, that's what they do best. I mean, they have the confidence to really go in for those frags. And Revenant, even though they are trying to flank out a little bit, you've got these setups, and SPG are just so aware. They are showing that they've left this icebox open on purpose.
Definitely off to the start they would have wanted. Bonus looking pretty scary for them as well. Bulldogs and Guardians, so a fair bit of investment there. The Sheriff, the only thing that's dropped, so they've kept up most of those rifles as they head into what is looking like a pretty scary bonus round here. Looking like, once again, a main control for SPG. Revenant looking to disrupt it, though. Quack and Paradox can't make it out in time.
It's not quite happening. So that's going to be a little bit of a trouble for Revenant right now. Now in with the high tide as well. The pressure has been created, trying to bait those rotations over. Meanwhile, you've got Persia right around the corner of yellow, listening for those footsteps, and he calls it clear that here comes the spike being delivered open for free on the B site.
Yeah, that pick on the A side of the map has just drawn all the rotations, and SPG still a step ahead. Damping's been left behind on the lurk. You can see Revenant, though, aware of that, trying to isolate it. Rossi's found a pick through middle in the meanwhile, so it's actually a man advantage for Revenant here.
Oh, a couple more kills going their way, too. Sultan taking down Margaret, and down goes Francis. Saw up to Ivy, trying to find some angles. Dizzy as well. Revenant able to answer back in kind. Although it was just like some of these little positional switch-ups, the rotations coming through, you had those kills coming in from Revenant just to turn things around.
Yeah, and I mean, it was their approach as well to the retake, and being active in middle is something they already showed they're willing to do in the pistol round. So, similarly in that round, they lose the pick on the A side of the map after a bit of an awkward exchange there for Paradox. Talk about how flexible he is in terms of agent pools. He plays a lot of different agents, but that's a situation where he really just did not look comfortable in that situation on the Yoru and did not time that TP super well. So, you know, you can be willing to play a lot of different agents, but how effectively can you play them in terms of using the ability as well and the impact you're going to find?
That is a big factor. Still, though, going in on the offensive positions now. He gate crashes all the way back onto D. However, SK Rossi will take the fall. Impresa not letting up again with that high tide. The rest of the team pushing out on the right flank. And you're gonna have a couple of these players struggling to hold their ground. Skills in with a recon. Sultan able to fire off of it, but 3 players down just because Impresa has executed them.
Again, they punished that A aggression 3 times in a row for SPG. Pistol round, they're able to take full control in the anti-eco. They've really worked it well in that round. The previous round was that Paradox. And in that round, as DOS9 goes down, another clean round for SPG. The Harbor ult there, the Reckoning, to deal with the 2-player aggression into Nest that Revenant was going for. Just completely picking apart whatever Revenant tries to achieve over on this A-side of the map. The aggression towards Heaven, towards Pipes, towards Belt has just not been working for Revenant, which is, to be fair, usually where you see a Jet shine, you know, is exactly why you play the Jet on this map. You want the Jet to go aggressive up onto Pipes to find a pick over on May's side, and that is just not something that Revenant's been able to do effectively with this comp.
Yeah, not quite yet. I mean, they're playing in some of these defensive positions, kind of getting pinned down sometimes as well. They're trying to maybe catch their opponents off of it, you know, with the recon, Sultan trying to get the wallbang through, but with the pace at which Impresa are going, you know, it's so overwhelming to have all of these players, the full force of this Korean squad rushing down against them, and they just have way too many targets to hit. Hence the timeout being called by Revenant right now. They're pinging out some of these spots across the map, and they're also stacking up on the B site.
Yeah, let's see what they can achieve with this half bite. One off the pit for Sultan. That could be huge in this round. One off the Thrash as well for Rossi. These big impact ultimates can make a pretty big difference. Winning a half bite, winning an eco, these kind of rounds. For SPG, though, been a great start for Ivy, straight from a 3K in the pistol round. Someone that was highlighted on the desk was a bit quiet in the last map. I think it was a bit more of a team effort from SPG in the previous, and obviously someone like Ivy playing the role that he's playing. Not always going to be fragging, you know, crazy, running around killing everyone like Danby does, but he's playing pretty well here on the Sova here for Icebox, and it's kind of so far looking like this is a map that SPG, although they've not played it in the regular season, they're looking pretty comfortable, pretty confident. They definitely have had time to mix it into their pool, and it's looking good for them.
Yeah, whether it's a month or 2, a little bit less for SPG, I think. They've definitely done their homework coming into Ascension, like what Miko was talking about previously on the desk. SPG have said before in interviews that they think they're going to win Ascension. They're actually preparing for Pacific 2025. So if that truly is the case, then this is the map to make it happen. And if they can take this win 2-0 against Revenant, boy, would that be a statement. In with the Hunters, furious. Well, look at Ivy off of the Owl drone, just trying to force Revenant back.
Yeah, I think maybe just trying to minimize risk in a half bite. It's a big investment, but they've been able to get into the site pretty easily here, Quack.
Here.
With that, too, they're watching these angles, making sure that they're not quite overextending all too much. I say that, Francis gets shut down by Sultan with the Guardian, and that's the go signal for the rest of Revenant into the sky, alongside that fake out as well. Gabby up in the air, though, looking for some of these targets. It's not quite over them yet. Paradox with a shot, able to take down Ivy. Cross9 with a shot of his own as well. Persia, almost an 180-degree flick. He's able to take down 2. And here comes with a B-hop. He's very aware to mark some of these corners. Someone's right around the corner, and he has to be very careful.
Mid-air though against Lost Nine, and he squeezed out Sultan in that Viper Spit. Tanks for the marking of that spike. Persia is able to clutch out, just as we've seen him do it before.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned in the last map, insane clutch statistics in VCLKR. That is the second time he's bailed out his team from getting ecoed this series. He did it on Bind. He's done it again here with a massive clutch. And not to mention, I mean, I was kind of saying it as well, like he was on 6 HP. Sultan, he was one off that pit heading into that round. That's something that you might want to invest if the round's going well for you. And that's been taken away from them as well with Persia clutching it out. That pit had no impact.
That is ridiculous. A bit of a loss for Revenant, but incredible stuff from SPG right now. Revenant trying to switch things up a little bit as well, pushing out. Paradox thinking about making use of that fake out. Sends it across and definitely gathers the information that SPG is still right around the corner, but you're always wondering about what SPG might do, having seen that they do send in a bit of that B squad over on the other side of the map sometimes.
You can see the Viper of SPG, Persia exploring B long, Margaret cleared out by the drone in middle. They've got multiple lurks, as you often do on ice spots, but one of them punished well by Paradox, who's finally working his way into the game. 4 on 5 here, and Revenant have got some great retaking tools with the ults as well.
Very nicely done. He even gate crashes all the way to the back of Snowman just to provide additional assistance if there is that additional push into the B site. So just right around as well, the rest of this team will have the urgency to rotate back into A. They have the space, they have a man advantage, and they are looking to utilize it. Increase it out. Look at spike plan. Marking some of the off angles. Dimensional drift being deployed by Paradox, however, gathering all of the information, seemingly rendering SPG's positioning useless. Allows for ROSSI to pick up on the kills. Persia back in as well. He's trying to do what he can, but completely overwhelmed. Revenant will come back into the game with their second win.
I mean, that's a retake you should be winning every day of the week. You've cleared the mid lurk early on, 5 on 4. You just give that A site, you got both the Yoru and the Gecko ult to be able to complete that retake seamlessly, and that's exactly what it was. Easy connection on the Thrash, gives them a free kill onto Danby, and then just scouting out all of the positions with Paradox's Yoru ult, coming in for a pretty easy defuse there. Nicely done from Revenant. That's going to be their second defensive side round, and now with the ult economy, they've already invested 3 of the big ults early on, as I mentioned. There's the Nano to clear out the kitchen turret, but this time it's on Belt and Danby winning a duel again over towards A main. Paradox has been getting punished here pretty regularly, and that's going to be another man of disadvantage situation here for Revenant.
And just as that happens, a bit of a counter punch is on the other side. Persia falls down, always on that alert. They've now been spotted out by Revenant Esports. SK Rossi arriving just on time as well. Trying to buy time those skills with that Hunger Fury. Fight will still go down regardless. SK Rossi trying to fire off. Nobody's spotted quite yet. Here comes that lockdown from DOS9. And it does force SPG off the site. Now they're going to have to go in for these angles.
Bomb grenade out.
Trying to play off around this. ROSSI trying to work against him with that damage from as well, but it does force some of these angles to be played. Ivy able to slide down his pocket with that handle. Moshpit will force Ivy.
Enemy remaining.
Bit of high-low setup, but not quite an angle that favors SK Rossi for now. Gecko, though, will be able to get in that defense just in the nick of time. Wingman doing all the work, bringing Revenant up to 3.
I thought he got it just at the last second, swinging onto the Wingman. But as you mentioned, Revenant, another successful retake from them. Really, really nicely worked. Getting some impact off of these last couple of ults for sure to win some critical gun rounds. That was a great lockdown. To kind of push all of SPG back towards Belt, back towards Jail, and then be able to get that defuse off despite the top side plant. It was really, really well worked.
Revealing area.
Once again, the same main control going to be the point of contention as it has been every round this game, and there's the reckoning from SPG.
That's how it always starts, but this time SPG has that reckoning towards the top.
Paradox still trying to plant his foot firmly down into the ground, but it's going to be him who takes the dust. SPG does not let up. He's still keeping moving forward. Persia, ever so slippery. He's doing parkour over the map like the Prince of Persia. Now, being spotted out, Offline will take a hit, and it's going to be SPG showing that they are able to take the lead still against Revenant.
Yeah, and that was a nice little change-up as well from SPG. Throwing down the Reckoning, making it look like it's an all-out A-execute and pushing the other team back, limiting their info with the Harbor Util, the Cascade, as well as the Reckoning, but also pinching through mid through the Viper Orb at the same time. You can see both the Killjoy of Margaret and Persia splitting through A, so you're kind of flushing all of the defenders rather, out of the site towards screen side, and then you're pinching them by scaling out screens as well as mid at the same time. So beautiful stuff from SPG, who have forced Revenant on a half-buy, and this is where they're starting to change things up. Anti-Eco droning out B long, but you can see Revenant here ready to fight with some reactive flashes.
Good reads, yeah, from Revenant. He's trying to set up with that lockdown. Able to come away with one kill at the very least. First lockdown will go all the way through. High comes in, high can Floyd as well. Covers
Spike planted.
Just around the corner. Revenant in with this half-buy, trying to find their angles.
Yeah, Francis B hopping back out of the site. Crashes there for Rossi. Gonna have to potentially invest that if they want to win this round through the pit in a 4-on-4 here, Quack.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough. Look at Francis going all the way through mid. Might be able to catch them with an off-angle. Something though. What a shot on that stairway. That's going to be a couple players more taken down. Feels on the other back end, though. It's going to be SK Rossi trying to do something, but it's going to be Revenant with the numbers, with the way that they dismantle that Viper's Pit, taking a win back up against SPG despite the half-buy.
That's just another Sultan round, man. Like, this guy's crazy. He just buys Sheriff Armor, $1,200, and just runs in and just snaps a couple heads off. You saw it already on Bind. They won a thrifty round in that exact same fashion. And again, he's found another 3K on the Sheriff just walking around the edge of the pit here. Like, this is a very low percentage round. You know, you've had the lockdown into a pit. That's one of the most oppressive afterplants to be trying to, you know, find your way back into. And he makes it look easy with very minimal investment.
I like it. He's really calm, really patient, very mindful, very demure, and he's able to really just watch his way around the corner of Bill. I think that's the main thing. Priest has been making a lot of jittery movements sometimes, and it just kind of leaves them a little bit exposed. Paradox, though, with a gate crash, not quite, a little bit spotted out by Margaret, and that's just that lurk capability that Priest brings in as well. High tide spike planted, just a hunted fury. Provide additional cover as well. Surprise, surprise, Bambi on the
Enemy remaining. Screen down.
Wills is trying to create a little bit more space in, but it's not quite happening. Francis blocked him completely. All down to SK Rossi.
Yeah, not much he can do here. Despite a full kit, he's really just looking for damage, so not even going to get any ult orbs as a result of any damage that he does inflict, and economy starting to build up for SPG here as well. Margaret's maybe not spotted him there. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. No one was on the death cam, but at least on the radar, Francis has found him. So there you go. SPG, you're starting to see, despite a map they didn't play at all. Have to mention as well, Paradox, 3 and 9, and the majority of these opening duels have not been going his way on the Yoru. And, you know, that's an agent that they've opted to pick into this matchup. And honestly, it's been a bit of a liability, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're not quite feeling the impact just yet. Except for maybe a round or two where Paradox is able to come in with a great heads-up duel. That said, Saprisa, whether or not it's the agent's switch-ups or Margaret holding out and we pushing up front, they're able to do quite a bit of damage against Revenant. Look at how they're forcing skills back. Margaret able to chip him away. 2 on 2. And they're thinking about how they want to use the spike. Look at this little sneak through from Persia, but spotted by Sultan. Oh, spotted by Dawson as well. Off the other side, in from middle. And that's going to be Revenant.
Last round before the switch.
Is back in their favor.
Yeah, nicely done. You can see similar to that KO Gecko comp on this map, like you really want to be fighting around Maze. You have that reactive Dizzy from SK Rossi thrown up from behind 410 as soon as the attacking team tries to take contact over there. You can see them fighting together there, you know, Rossi fighting through with the wall. Comes down to a 2-on-2, and look, if it's DOS9 and Sultan as the backline is left in the 2-on-2 on the rotation for you, you're feeling pretty comfortable with that.
I think it just shows that Simpusa aren't exactly unbeatable on this map either. There are definitely some gaps that Revenant can exploit at times. Then again, as we say that, a Hunter's Fury in from skills, nothing gathered.
Rossi's on the op. That's a bit of a change-up. You've got the Thrash, so great retake tool there. One off both the Pit and the Yoru ult. So these could be big ults to try to steal this last gun round of the half. If they're able to find a kill or an orb at the right time. Pretty standoff approach from SPG. Applying pressure to this A site. There's the high tide in combination with the drone. Danby making it look like he's entering up into the site, but they're keeping their options open with the double lurk through B.
He's not ultra aggressively rushing into the site as well, but then here comes the spike. They've managed to create enough space to fend off Revenant, and at the same time still the approach from B. Persia able to take down his counterpart Danby in with a blade shot into skills' hit. How is this 3v5 going to happen? They've been spotted by the Wrecker. Paradox just walks up. DOS9 in from the back as well. Another hits up duel. Dimensional Drift clears out in full. It's all down to the rotations from Persia, from Margaret, and he's able to do it all. In with a burst from the Vandal. SPG comes back up on top 7-5.
And that just shows you the confidence that SPG has. They've got an active double lurk on B. Everything makes it look like a fake on the radar, but that's just how confident they are feeling out the route. They take that A control, and with only 3 players over on that side of the map, they're still committing to A. They still send the drone and the dart in. Danby's clearing out the site. They're not finding any resistance. They're seeing an open site in a retake setup, and they say, look, even though there's only 3 of us here, we still have a lot of resources invested over there on the other side of the map. We can still get ourselves into a comfortable afterplay and win it comfortably too.
And that's just how they are able to operate. I mean, having the confidence to make these plays, having the confidence to trust in your teammates to do what they do best, a little bit of that pressure on the B side, and even rotating over, despite how much time it really takes. It still is impressive, though, what Revenant is capable of, especially when you have players like DOS9 slipping in from the back.
Honestly, I'd like to see a similar approach from Revenant on their attacking side. Like, both Persia and Margaret are definitely the slower players on this SPG roster. You can see them with the active lurk on the attacking side. I think you could get the same value out of DOS9 and Sultan, you know, in putting them in the late ground situations, or putting them, you know, over on the lurk position and catch the rotations. Those guys can definitely find a lot of impact as well. So, look, we'll see what we're going to get out of Revenant on this attacking side. No jet, so they're going to have to get it done.
Yes.
This is basically the Gecko Yoru util on the entry.
That's what I was about to say too, Filski. I mean, that's the thing, right? You've got Danby on the jet, but Paradox is on the Yoru. So if we do have DOS9 and Sultan, you know, approaching B as a duo, how are the rest of Revenant going to approach that A site? You know, you don't have the jet. You can't quite maneuver around 410 that way. You're going to have to find some way to, you know, create that pressure or play around the space that you have, because Gate Crash sometimes isn't quite your most reliable utility to sneak into the back of the site or to gain that mobility into the site. As Karasi isn't on a jet either. So that's one of the things that Revenant has to consider. But Simprisa, on the other hand, I think that's something that we got to think about as well. Margaret on the defensive side, on this Killjoy, that's something to be tested. What are his timings going to be? How is he going to utilize the turret? I guess for now, it's going to be up around Boiler.
Yep, that's pretty standard. Just keeping an eye on that mid-rotation. Orb's going to be there to deny Timmy the turret vision. So, unfortunate, he's probably going to have to head over to the optometrist and see if he can grab himself a pair of glasses or something like that. There's the orb control from Francis, and they're going to keep pushing the issue here into the lurk.
All the way in. Sultan, though, just waiting for something to happen. Revenant not making any huge moves just yet as well. Screen comes back up, and he's spotted everything already. However, not quite able to connect onto the second. A good pickup at the very least. However, it does buy his teammates into that second peak. DOS9 in for the refrag. Revenant now has numbers advantage. Do they expect Debbie around the corner again, though? Look at this. One shot off, and even three more just to take down DOS9. He tailwinds away, given the fact that SPG now has clay numbers advantage. Even the information allows for Ivy to peek out through middle. The double kill to give Simprisa Gaming their 8th win.
It's just that is one of those rounds of Valorant where it's all awkward timings. It's all just people sneaking around the place, trying to find the gaps, playing off angles, playing off timings. And unfortunately, it's gone a little better for SPG in that regard. Some sharp shooting as well for both Danby and Ivy as they get themselves that defensive side pistol. And that is now Revenant under the pump here, Quack. They're already down 0-1. This is their map pick. They've got no footage, no tape of what SPG is going to do on defense. Whoa. And Danby, that's what I'm saying, man. You get up there on pipes and you go take the fight to the other team. That's what you want to see, Quack. They're already down 0-1. This is their map pick. They've got no footage, no tape of what SPG is going to do on defense. Whoa. And Danby, that's what I'm saying, man. You get up there on pipes and you go take the fight to the other team. That's what you want to see from a Jet on this map.
Yeah, it's a really loud sound that the Outlaw makes. And
okay? It is all right, darling. You know, you're gonna survive.
Not cell-shocked yet, and no ear ringing in my ears, unless Pilsky says something to me. But anyway, Revenant are just rotating completely because of that Outlaw. And that's the thing, you know, when you're playing against a team like Simprisa, you never quite know what to expect as to how they're going to play. I mean, did you really expect 3 players pushing out of B Garage in that fashion? I don't think so.
There's the Cascade. Big long control being taken here by Revenant. Being given by SPG, who are just trying to get that wingman open plant. Can it get denied by Persia? Not quite.
Almost. But at the very least, Francis has been planted in position as well. He hears the footsteps. Teammates just right around the corner. They're setting in for that retake, but unbeknownst to them, Sultan tucked away, able to fire off a couple of shots. Now Danby in with that Outlaw. Cloud burst in just to block things off, trying to get that defuse down to half, and then the cove. We're going to have to jump into this, but it's not going to be able to deter that defuse. Danby in with a quad kill. That's very close to Blade Storm. Margaret to clean things up. How are you going to come back against an SPG that looks this strong?
Yeah, nice little retake. That's what the hub is great for on this map as well. To be able to come back into those late round situations like traditionally the Sage would do, you know, with the wall, you get the cove, you know, a nice hide tide as well across yellow there, and you can create yourself a nice little area to play from, segment the retake in a favorable situation for yourselves. Now into the bonus for SPG, first gun round for Revenant, and it's going to be some A-main control. Unfortunately, Danby's already taken Rossi out of the equation, though, and that's not how you wanted to start your first gun round, going up against, you know, potentially losing the bonus and letting the rest of the game spiral out of control.
Yeah, lose a little bit of those flashes, and you have to think twice. Now even going off from the other side, Persia with a quick flick on that Sheriff. 3-on-5, Revenant scrambling to pick up the pieces. This is Simprisa Gaming now really close to those double digits.
Yeah, you can see the contact approach, which is what you often see from a lot of teams in man disadvantaged situations. They need to win some heads-up duels, and Paradox is going to have to be the one to do it very deep up here on the A site. There's the high tide, though.
It's not quite going to slow anything down. Simprisa just able to watch these angles, fire off their shots. There are those double digits. All the guns claimed. And Danby up with the Blade Storm at the ready.
Nightmare fuel. And as you mentioned, the Blade Storm's there. He's just dropped his Vandal over to Persia, cycled in the Blade Storm, and bought another Outlaw. I mean, it's working for it. Dude, this is what I saw in EMEA Ascension. You had like comeback, like on the Neon, just buying an Outlaw every round in the opening game and running around killing everyone. And look, this time it's Danby these cracked young duelist players just abusing you in the early parts of the game.
I mean, especially, the early parts of the second half, when the armor isn't quite there to protect you, Dambi gets away with daylight robbery. Persia in with another frag as well. And then you've got Margaret slowly trying to rotate on over. I don't think his utility's going to spot anything out just yet, though, so that might have been DOS9 slipping the net with that Sheriff. It could be lethal.
Yeah, looking for the timing here. Persia's found one. Meanwhile, that's a nice little one tap from Margaret, and SPG just scaling all the way through A. Process of elimination approach from them. And I think that's something that we've got to keep an eye on through the rest of this tournament. You saw it on Bind. They were quite happy to leave the Cypher retake. Margaret retake on one side of the map, 4-stack the other side. That's going to be a trend that teams will already be seeing in this opening game and potentially try to take advantage of going forward.
Yeah, it really is those push-outs, and it's also the fashion in which SPG makes it happen. And that's something that all those teams are going to have to look out for now, playing against a team like Sunfrisa. But at the same time,
this is such a cursed timeout. These are the timeouts I hate to take in the coaching slot, where it's like, this is a terrible position. They've won the bonus. They've got, okay, guys, don't worry. They've got unlimited money. We've got no tape on them. I have no idea how they're going to play. Like, this timeout very much as a coach is a bit of a character timeout, is a bit of a, you got to get the boys G'd up. You've got to, remind them of what the game plan is. Let's all get on the same page and make sure that we can execute a little bit better, because this has just not been a great series for Revenant, and this is the kind of test of character that it takes to win Ascension.
It really is. You're going to have to adapt on the fly. I mean, you might be thinking, you're calling this timeout expecting Dambi to be peeking out, rushing out 410 again out of Maze with an outlaw, but he's got an operator this time, and in fact he swapped sides over onto yellow on the B side. So it's just gonna be so tricky, but out of all the rounds that Revenant desperately needs right now, it's gonna be this round. They lose this and it's gonna be match point for Sunfrisa Gaming.
The thing is, like, there's a degree of luck to these kind of calls in these situations. Like, for Revenant on this attacking side, they have no tape. They've got to figure out on the fly what SPG is doing, and you're seeing SPG just continuing to change up their setups. This time they're moving the AWP over to B long, and they've got the KJ on A. So, what you want to see from Revenant is obviously, like I said before, that get DOS9 and Sultan in those active lurk roles start to get active, but can they figure that out in such a limited amount of rounds on the fly, or are they just going to run into the strong side and die?
It's tricky to say the least, Pilski. We've seen them try to do it a little bit. DOS9 was able to slip through in from tube all the way onto the backside of Kitchen, but spotted out by, players like Persia. It's just so darn tricky.
Look at that.
A little bit of suppressive fire from Persia as well now.
Did you see, like, the double dizzy, the scan? They've got perfect info that it's a 3 strong A, and they're just avoiding all of that. This is where, though, you mentioned the AWP over towards the B side of the map, pushed off the line by the drone, though.
And a shot from Sultan as well. Dambi trying to re-peek in. He still had that tailwind. Now dashed away. Great little V-crash from Paradox, but undeterred by Dambi. He's still able to pull out that Blaze Storm. He's confident in his role to hold down this line of sight. Francis here in to support with him. Right clicks through. The shorty's down onto DOS9. It's just way too overwhelming. Every player from Revenant down in the dust. It's 12-5 for Sunfrisa Gaming.
And that's what I was saying, man. Like, it's just such a cursed timeout. Like, and they tried to adapt on the fly. They tried to adapt on the fly. They threw the dizzy up. They shot the dart. They scanned 3 players on A. They said, we're not going to go A. Unfortunately, Dambi's brought an op, and he's over towards B, and he's just disrupting them. And all it takes is just a couple little mistakes in a situation that's already pretty cursed, and they just couldn't find the right passage of play.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, still, at least even one chance still counts. We're really helping that copium for Revenant right now. 5-12. Sunfrisa right on the cusp of closing out the series 2-0. The perfect start that they really wanted to make, that splash into Ascension. Francis, the double kill to start things off. Paradox trying to gate crash his way out, but the spike down on the ground. He has to play around that objective.
teammates might have kind of snuck through a little.
Yeah. See Margaret trying to pick the cross. DOS9 was on the active lurk and thought he'd cleared out middle. Unfortunately, Margaret's all over it, Quack.
He just anticipates it, knowing that DOS9 has tried to make it happen before. All down to Paradox now. And we'll really see if he's capable of making use of his Euro. Does have the dimensional drift. Uses it to make his way out of there. Picks up the spike. He could play around the spike if he's able to maybe get it down.
Going over towards spawn side. Gonna make a bit of noise at A and gate crash to B, I think.
Well, 2 players, though. He's got to watch out. 27 HP, Pilski.
Look at Francis.
That noise was enough, but yeah, that's exactly right. Francis is already on site. I don't think he anticipates this. Doesn't have the time as well. So that's going to be the simple shot for Francis. Just stretched over that spray onto his head. Closes out the match 13-5. Simprisa Gaming takes down the first match of Pacific Ascension 2024.
And look, since that 7-0 streak from Revenant, SPG working their way into this series, and it has to be said, after that 0-7 start, they've dominated this series, and that includes Icebox. Like, where are the gaps in these guys? Map pool, is Soldom really the Korean jet? Because this Danby bloke looks pretty cracked, I'm not going to lie.
Maybe Danby's the Korean Neon, I don't know, but we're really seeing these plays happen. I think I just witnessed Francis stood up and gave a little, like, shush finger over to Revenant as well. So a little bit of fun. It's a LAN environment after all, but that said, I mean, Simprisa, what an opening match.
Yeah, I mean, it was everything we wanted to see from them. You saw that great structure, even on a map they haven't played in challenges. You saw the players playing to their strengths, like Danby doing what he does, getting on the aggression with the Neon, but as well taking over the game, winning a lot of heads-up duels in the opening stages of these rounds, controlling that A side of the map, both on attack and defense, really, really well. And then just a lot of the clutch players in the mid to late round, like Persia winning a lot of clutches, and both him and Margaret in the mid to late round on the back lines, on the lurks. They've got a great structure on this team and a great mix of players with the skill set as well.
And what I'm really impressed by is the fact that they're definitely keep our eyes on. But that said, it's a little bit disheartening for the South Asian fans right now. I mean, an opening match, you got the Prince of Indian Valorant, leading the squad back in as well, but it wasn't quite happening, especially with this agent composition that they had. So they're not out of the tournament yet, but you definitely want to see more from them. And we'll toss it back over to our panelists to break down this icebox.
Thank you so much for not forgetting about me, Quack. But yes, we have Simprisa Gaming winning the first match of Ascension. That is a 2-0 versus Revenant. I would say, though, Ewok, that this is actually, Revenant exceeded expectations for me. Yes, Icebox looked a little bit rocky, but I feel that was more Simprisa just really, finding their groove, being in that zone as they head into Icebox.
Yeah, I think really impressive performance from SPG that we have here. It's really impressive how they just managed to take control of this game, and they played the style that they wanted to, and it seemed like Revenant were adapting to them. There's times where I feel like SPG are kind of predictable in terms of where they want to go, but their executes, just like on Bind, are clean. They get into the post plant, and let's talk about Persia. How insane is this guy being when it gets to the post plant? We saw that it was 1v4 or 1v3 plant, and let's talk about Persia. How insane is this guy being when it gets to the post plant? We saw that it was 1v4 or 1v3. It's the second time in the series that he did that. He really saves his team. It's just a huge thing for any team to have someone in your back pocket that trumps talk about Persia. How insane is this guy being when it gets to the post plant? We saw that it was 1v4 or 1v3. It's the second time in the series that he did that. He really saves his team. It's just a huge thing for any team to have someone in your back pocket, that trump card that can just really save you out of these rounds.
On 6 HP too, I think, at the very end, I think he was left with 6, I think, or even less than that. Kind of harkens back to, Ascension 2023 with that 1v4 clutch from Scary that people still talk about, right? Persia is that player that can actually pull through in that regard, right? And especially, again, we're bringing it all in, like all the high pressure situation, what is at stake and everything. He pulls it out. He pulls all of that potential out in this first match. I mean, you gotta applaud him, especially on this map, Icebox, something which we didn't think we were gonna see from Synprisa Gaming this early on. But going back to Revenant, I mean, Quack did mention that this might be disappointing for South Asia fans, but I do like what we were able to see, especially on Bind, right? It just seems like Revenant, they couldn't get that pace that we were talking about earlier. They couldn't get it back, right? Which is surprising because I saw that they would be able to on attack here on Icebox, and Ewok, you just saw SPG getting more and more confident, which is not what you want them to be.
Yeah, I think we're kind of seeing on Danby's side, he's doing exactly what we expect from Paradox. Unfortunately, Paradox, we weren't seeing that value really from the Yoru. He was not getting those early picks. And a big difference, I do think, was every time Danby will either hit his shot, but sometimes he would miss his first shot. We saw that Yellow, we saw that Pipes. He would miss his first shot. His team is there to help him out, and he can go for more after, and then he capitalizes off having another opportunity. But unfortunately for Paradox, he didn't hit his first shot, he didn't TP, and he dies, and there's no team that's around him anymore. So it just makes it so much more difficult for Revenant to play in that scenario because they're not getting that early pick. They're playing a lot of 4v5s, unfortunately, versus where Danby was doing the exact opposite on the defense side for Synprisa.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They were on opposite sides of the board, right? And I'm wondering, you mentioned about how he wasn't hitting those first shots. Could be a question of performance. I'm wondering also if this was, clearly this wasn't the plan for the Yoru, but what was the vision that they had here for it? Because I feel like Yoru as a solo duelist, especially on Icebox, might not exactly work in that way. Perhaps there was some kind of disconnect here, Iwa, about, how they were looking to play it, and, maybe they needed another duelist for this composition to work, perhaps.
Yeah, you might be onto something. I think, unfortunately, from the Yoru, we don't really see the trap plays I was looking for. I'm looking for team trap plays. I'm looking for cheeky TPs. I'm looking for him to be involved in a team play, especially on the defense side. Something aggressive on the defense side with a combo of a TP and a flash, or the way how you need to play the Yoru is a little bit different to the Jet. The Jet, you can be a little bit more assertive, and you just go and you have this get out of jail free card. With the dash, it's a little bit faster than the Yoru TP. The Yoru, you need to play a little bit more smarter, in my opinion, and you need to combo it a little bit more with some teammates. And unfortunately, I don't think we saw enough trap plays involving the Yoru, but we did see it trying to do some solo trap.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm